Hi, Avery here. Just popping in at the top of the episode to explain a little bit about what's going on with this episode. We had quite a few audio and technology issues, unfortunately. We literally got a new laptop and a new microphone the following week. So, we sound pretty bad in this episode. I'm not even going to lie to you. I sound like I'm talking through a tin can. Alyssa occasionally sounds a little too loud because I was trying to pump everything up so that I would be actually audible. So we apologize, and we really appreciate you guys being patient while we're learning the ropes of podcasting and transitioning our recording space and all sorts of great stuff. Hopefully, after this episode, we won't be facing so many issues, and we can deliver you lots of really great stuff that are nice to your ears and fun to listen to. So thank you guys so much. Happy 2024, y'all. Congratulations on making it through. We all did it together. We pulled together and we made it through another year. I should let you listen to the episode. It's just so nice to spend time together, you know? So, anyways, don't tell Alyssa. I love you guys. Bye-bye.
Hello, and welcome to Sit Boy, a podcast where we watch InuYasha, one episode at a time and spoiler-free. My name's Alyssa.
And my name is Avery. Alyssa's seen this anime a million times, somewhere in there. And I have seen 4 episodes.
But several times now. 4 episodes.
Yeah, I have seen episode 4. 4 times now?
Yeah.
Episode 4 is called Yura of the Demon Hair.
This episode was originally released in Japan on November 6, 2000, and in English on September 21st, 2002. This episode contains the end of Chapter 7 and Chapter 8 of Volume 1 and the first 3 chapters of Volume 2.
So split up.
I know.
So weird.
And once again, the very last panel of Chapter 3 is not included if it continues in the next episode.
That's just... I feel like they're trying now to annoy me. Me personally.
They're just trying to lead you into the story.
I get it. It's like a conveyor belt. They want to catch you moving forward, but like...
They only have 22 minutes.
Yeah. I get it.
You go.
I go. I know. I get it. I think this episode fucks. Like, I was really into this episode.
Yes. It, for some reason, I don't know why, it is the same amount of time, but it feels longer and like it covers more.
Yeah.
And yet we're really only in maybe 3 different locations the entire time.
I think that's why it feels so much longer, is because they...
but not in a bad way. It's not dragging at all.
Right. It feels more flushed out.
Yeah.
Like, it feels fuller. It feels more well-lived. Than, like, so far. I mean, I've seen 4 episodes, but of the 4, like, this felt really lived in. I think it owes to the fact that a lot of it was in one battle with one character, and we got to spend some time with her. Also, she's amazing. I am obsessed with her, and she's my Dami mommy, and I love her. I'm not interested in that much, but like, Dami mommy, yes please, thank you.
She's a tightrope walker.
She is.
I mean, I don't have a thing for feet, but...
She wouldn't step on my face, she would step on the tip of my nose.
Yeah.
And crush it. So, this episode begins with the last episode. And the one before that.
The recap wasn't that bad.
It wasn't that bad, but like, it was funny because like for the first like 5 minutes of this 20-minute show was like various recap.
Yes, they are pretty good at incorporating it in with the rest of the plot. So
Which
it's
I
like
do appreciate.
Flashback scenes.
Right.
So the first 3 scenes our actual flashback, and then they start, and then the rest of it is incorporated.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So.
Yeah, which is creative, and I do appreciate that, but it was kind of one of those moments where I was like, oh, I don't have to watch this. I've already seen this.
Yeah.
But they do a recap of what has been happening, and then we find out that Kagome is home.
Mm-hmm. Mom and Grandpa are discussing if Kagome's story is true.
Why would she lie about it?
I don't know.
Like, I hate this trope in fiction where it's like, that can't be true, so I just don't believe you. And it's like, okay, even if that's true, your teenage daughter disappeared for 3 days and showed up in period medieval clothing? You gotta approach it with some tact.
Yeah. I mean, Mom did not say that to Kagome.
Sure.
She asked her dad if he thought that was true.
That's true. Mom is inclined to not believe Kagome's story, and Sota, bless his heart, stands up for her. And Grandpa says that there's a legend that backs it up, that my beautiful wife, exists there and has been eating corpses for centuries. So,
Is that how you interpreted that?
isn't that what? No.
No, that's a really cool interpretation. He's saying that the legend is that anytime a demon's corpse or body is placed in there, it magically disappears. That's just the point of the Bone Eater's Well. It eats the bones. But they do incorporate the image of Mistress Centipede from the previous episode because that's how we recognize it.
Right.
But he himself comes up with the theory that it must be like, he says a time dimension.
Time continuum.
I wrote down time vortex.
Yes.
So it's like, instead of those corpses just disappearing, they were actually pulled through time into a different era.
Right. Grandpa shoots down to the well and nails it shut and puts prayer stickers.
Oracles?
Yeah.
For one
in
of the
sub.
translations?
Yeah, in the sub.
But the one I was watching earlier called them charms, and I sometimes have heard them as talismans. And in the manga, they're actually referred to as spell scrolls.
Yeah, I think they're also...
Or just seals.
Yeah. Prayer seals, I think is what they're called. But yeah, basically just like stickers that have some kind of blessing written on them. And he said spirit wards, that's the word. Spirit wards.
Yeah.
And that 100% the will is closed and nothing's ever getting through. Yes.
Never.
Never.
Ever.
Not even in 2 minutes.
Not once. Not even
Flash
once.
to
Say his name.
InuYasha.
There.
Thank you. Alyssa's been giving me a shit about the way I say InuYasha, which has been wrong, and I understand that, and I didn't realize it until I heard myself say it about 50 times over the last couple episodes. So, sorry guys.
She's working on it.
I'm working on it.
I was trying to be...
We're all on our own growth journeys.
We've never done this before.
No. Also, I was brought up as a tween watching this show, and we said InuYasha, and I don't know why. It's InuYasha.
It is. That's a why.
If we'd gone with that
Yasha.
the other idea that we had for this podcast, InuYasha,
Yeah.
then it would have made more sense.
That's what Nick keeps saying, and he wants to write a comment somewhere saying, you guys should have just called it InuYasha.
Should have.
I know.
We really should have. Just to make me miserable, basically.
Yeah.
So, yeah, our boy is sniffing outside the well, and he sees her clothes.
And he figures out that she must have jumped down, or
Absolutely.
must have gotten her way home, and the only way she could have gotten home was through this well.
And he jumps.
He jumps.
I love him for that.
Little flying
Little
raccoon.
feet, get a little
You and the
close up.
feet.
They're little. They're cute.
Yeah, okay.
We go to Kagome's bedroom where she's looking so cute in a little green sweater and a black skirt with little geometric pattern on it. Like, it's such a fit and I love it. I had to cut this out of the first episode, by the way, because I screwed it up. But in the first episode, she wears a little sweater with little bows on it, and it's just so cute. Like, her clothes so far, like, non-school uniform clothes, are just adorable.
Yeah.
I'm very excited about this.
There's a picture I have somewhere in my scroll on my phone that has all the different outfits that Kagome wears from the manga, and it's like 30 or 40.
That's awesome.
So you do get to see an array when she is home. Kagome's talking to herself about who is Yura, what is Yura, what is she going to do? She has the jewel. What's InuYasha going to say when he finds out that she has the shard? And then she realizes InuYasha's not going to care because he doesn't need her.
Yeah, I wrote Kagome thinking about what a bitch InuYasha is. InuYasha, god damn it.
Yeah.
The kitty is so goddamn cuddly looking.
Booyo.
He is so cute.
Yes.
He's so squishy.
He missed her. He will not get off of her.
Oh, he won't let her have an inch, and I love that for him. She goes, yeah, chapter closed, nothing happened, it was just a fairy tale, and everything's good now, and nothing ever is going to happen ever again.
I'm just going to close my eyes and pretend it was a dream.
Yes. She jumps off the bed, and the cat goes,
It's a good noise.
It's really good. Thank you, Richard Cox.
Sota and Grandpa are talking about how good or well he sealed up the well once more.
If there's one thing I know, it's spirits.
And in the manga, he actually says, I sealed it with powerful scrolls. In all the heavens and hells, there lives no demon, ghost, or monster who can break through these shields.
And shows his entire ass.
Yeah.
Because, well, we'll get there.
Yeah.
I was really proud of myself, by the way, because the hot pot came on. I was like, oh, hot pot. And I was like, wait, is this hot pot? And then she goes, hot pot. I was like, fuck yeah.
Yeah, in the manga it says udon, but I think they're similar. Can udon be in a pot?
Think yes.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure udon can be an ingredient in hot pot.
Because
That might be
Sota
wrong,
definitely was eating something noodly.
Yes, right. And like, I think in the sub when she's chanting, I think she's saying miso, 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 miso.
Maybe. I wasn't listening that hard, but
That's what it sounded like to me.
yeah.
Which would also
Be-
potentially be an ingredient
yeah.
in hot pot. I think hot pot is like stir fry, where it's like, yeah, it could be just like whatever you want in there. It's more about the technique. Yeah, I like both of her little chanty songs over Grandpa's
Food, food, food,
lecture.
food.
Real food, real food, real food, food, food.
Yeah, in the manga it's just udon, 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 udon.
It's so cute.
So the bit continues in every version.
Fantastic. Just slightly different. They start eating and InuYasha's just there.
Thump, 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 thump.
He's just there. And I love that. Like, he looks so out of place. Like, Kagome never looked that out of place in the medieval times. And it makes me so happy. InuYasha completely destroyed Grandpa's wards, and we get our second.
In the manga, when he shows up and opens the door, the ward, instead of being like obscured and then InuYasha pulls it out, it's sticking out of his hair. It's like he just
That's
went
really
boom
good.
and it just like fell into his hair as he was coming through.
That's a great gag.
He had no time.
Because that's hilarious.
And then he pulls it out and he's like, you mean this? Like, nothing.
So many visual gags, and I feel like there'll be more that it's like, that wouldn't have been hard to animate. Why didn't they just keep that? That's funny.
I don't know.
It's fine. Probably too busy or something. Too many things to move. He says you gotta go back. And he starts just yanking on her ass. Like,
He is a stern boy. He is mad. He said, who gave you permission to come back home?
He plays Dummy Daddy well, but there's nothing that backs that up. He's a brat. We all know this.
He's a tsundere.
Yes. Japanese for brat.
Oh, yes. That's valid, actually.
Yeah. And my second favorite part of this episode, Mom, instead of going, hey, what are you doing? Why are you pulling on my daughter? immediately goes up to him and starts yanking on his ears and goes, whoop, 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 whoop.
She starts with the, hey, what are you doing? She goes, hey, stop right there. And then she does it. So
That's what I mean.
It's like a bait and switch.
Exactly. That's what I mean. Instead of being like, don't touch my daughter.
But I think that's a good inclination. What is the word I want? Indication of mom's flexibility.
Sure.
Because, this is the person that my daughter was telling us about that I didn't really think was real. And now he's here and I'm verifying that he's real. And okay, he's real. Okay. I mean, wouldn't you also go for the ears?
I don't know. Like, in that situation, if I was the mom, no. I'd be like, get out of my house. But I'm not an A shonen anime.
Yeah, that's fair. I didn't notice it in the subbed, but in the dubbed, InuYasha's making whining noises while they touch his ears.
Oh.
He's very upset, and I don't know if it's just because it's happening and, like, he doesn't like the feeling, or if he's perturbed that, like, his authority has been ignored.
Probably a good combo of both. But, yeah, I wonder if he likes it at all.
The world may never know.
We'll have to... We'll put a pin in that one.
Yeah.
But yeah, so as this chaos is happening, one little hair comes in. And
whatever that weird noise.
Of course, she can't see it. Nobody can see it except for Kagome. And it tightens around her hand. It's a really neat little effect. It's very, very quiet that it tightens around her and takes just that one drop of blood. I really enjoyed that. It's a good choice.
Yeah.
Grandpa sees the blood and it's like, oh god, it's happening.
And then she holds out the hair and is like, it's here. No one can see it. And she quickly realizes it's Yura's hair, which means that it must have come through the well. And she runs to investigate further and finds that indeed a lot of hair is coming through the well.
Hair tentacles. This is the first time that InuYasha actually recognizes that Kagome has, like, special powers.
Yes.
He's like, oh, I guess fine. Maybe you can see things.
But also he followed her and then positioned himself to lean against the door to say
I don't
that.
care, though. He's such a butthole. Grandpa and Soda, and later on we see Mom, run after her. And this surprised me. She closes the doors on them and says, don't come in. So her inclination is always to protect. And I really like that about her. That's showing through here. I did think that she could have told them anything about what was going on, but... Yeah,
but she dealt with this for 3 days, and already none of Grandpa's stuff has been working.
That's true.
Sota doesn't have any powers, and Mom is Mom. So what are you going to do?
True.
She at least knows she has some abilities, and InuYasha has more abilities, so she's put him in there with her, and all she's doing is holding the door closed the entire time until she gets up. But she's just providing a barrier to protect her family.
She's, doing the it's right there style fighting.
And InuYasha can't see it, but apparently he can hear it. His ears do react to the noise of the hair moving around.
Yeah, he's fighting by sound basically at this point.
And he's still not doing a great job because he gets grabbed.
Yes. We should have done a counter on how many times he gets hogtied, or somebody gets hogtied in this.
I did not count.
I guess it wouldn't be hogtied, it would be strung up. Well, this is the first time.
Right.
Okay.
He gets tied up, kind of restrained, and Kagome realizes there's a taut hair that is not acting the same as the others, and realizes this must be the one that's controlling them all.
Yes.
And she indicates that InuYasha should cut it, and once again confirms, like she didn't realize before, that he can not actually see it.
Right. Exactly.
She's like, okay, I'll cut my hand again.
Yeah, exactly. Which, again, I really enjoyed that. I didn't see it the first, 2 times that I watched it. I thought she was just catching the light.
Yeah.
And then I saw the little leaky blood, and I was like, oh, that's cool. I like it.
Yeah. It is so dark, and the gleam they have on the strands that...
It's distracting upwards, and then you hardly see the down dribble. It is a cool effect, and either direction, whether she's catching the light or she's dribbling blood on it, it makes sense that he would see it one way or the other.
It's definitely the blood, because in the manga, it's negative space, basically. Like, they show outline light but they don't actually draw the line. And then you see blood just floating in midair.
Oh, that's cool.
That's the only panel that actually shows it from, like, InuYasha's perspective, because the rest of the time it's from Kagome's, which is how we can see the hair. Yeah.
I meant to say earlier, when they cut the hair originally, it keeps moving and it looks really creepy. And then when InuYasha clips the main hair, it all falls down, which is...
And evaporates or dissolves.
Yeah, well, it, like, slurps back into the well.
Some of it does, but the ones that are on him just kind of, like, disintegrate.
Yeah, well, like, somebody else later on.
Kagome starts to wonder why Yura is still after them when she has the shard, and realizes that she must be after them personally for some reason. And Kagome straightens her shoulders and is like, we gotta go back. And InuYasha makes fun of her for leaving in the first place.
Yeah.
And she's like, I don't want to go back. I have to go back because my family.
And there's this little beat of silence from him that I'm like, oh, I think he heard that. You know, I think he heard that as a little bit of bravery.
Yeah.
And I think that's what earns her the kimono on her head.
I know.
I think it's really, really nice. But yeah, he drapes the kimono made from the hair of the fire rat to give her protection.
And he implies that it's not normal armor. It's stronger than normal armor. And she thanks him, and he gets a little awkward and is like,
yeah, well, if you weren't so weird looking, you wouldn't even need it.
In the sub, he goes, you look like you have really weird skin. I was like, bitch, fuck off.
I love her retort.
You should talk, dog boy.
Yeah, whatever.
And then they jump in together.
Yeah. And then we get to see my girlfriend, my Dami mommy.
Yeah.
With her cool red skull held between her beautiful boobs.
Yeah.
That filled the entire screen.
I just need that one sound clip of the crab from Bees and Puppy Dog.
Cleavage.
Cleavage, dude.
In the manga, she's brushing hair of one skull, and as it happens, you see the hair go out, and in the next panel, she does it again, and it joins with the rest of the hair. So you're kind of seeing
it's like
how
making the hair.
Yeah.
I really appreciate that because I was really like, I had to force myself not to think about that.
Yeah.
in
Like
anime.
somehow the comb putting the hair, going through the hair puts the hair together into one giant strand.
I really appreciate that. There's a lot of attention to like answering questions before they're asked in the manga. I feel like versus the anime that's just like, don't worry about it.
There also seems to be a little more trust in the manga with the audience.
Yeah.
Which, we'll get to it. There's a part with the English translation that it's like, you just don't trust your audience, do you?
Yeah, so from the beautiful girlfriend, we go to my third favorite part of this episode, which is this dumb bitch.
How dare you?
I mean, this beautiful old soul babbling to herself like an idiot.
She
in
is
the fucking-
lecturing InuYasha.
from the middle of the woods.
He might still be around. She doesn't know.
She's sure talking like he is. I was dying. Like, her just being like, in her stupid leaves.
I do have a sad thing to inform you. That doesn't happen in the manga.
Oh.
None of the cuts to Kaede happen. You don't even know if she gets rescued at the end.
When do we see her again? Is she back in that village?
Yeah, by the next chapter when stuff finally happens.
Okay.
But
well, it was a good gag, and
Yeah.
I'm glad they did it in the anime.
yeah, there you go.
There's much to be gained from both. I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm not picking sides. I like both. I've been enjoying both
Same.
for different reasons. We go back to the well. She comes out and tells him about Yura and says that she has the jewel shard. He goes ballistic, and she just like fucking ignores him, and I love her for that.
Yeah, she's got important things to do, like notice which hair to follow. In the manga, the hair actually attacks them in the well and forces them out, and then they start following it that way.
We go to the bonfire, and a bunch of dudes got shot with arrows and are missing their heads.
Did they have arrows in them, or were there
Yeah.
just arrows around?
No, one of them is being held to the tree with an arrow through his body. I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
Maybe I'm making that up.
I wasn't paying attention to that, but maybe one of them lost their head and the others started attacking because they don't know what it is. But this is the part I was just talking about. In the English dub, InuYasha refers to them as men from the village, but they're not.
They're not. They're like ancient.
They're wearing armor, which the villager men are farmers and they've only been wearing kimonos. These guys are wearing battle gear and they have swords and arrows and all the things. In the sub, they refer to them as
Warriors.
Yeah. In the manga, they refer to them as samurais. Either way, they are some kind of fighter that were camping for the night and accidentally got caught up in the hair.
So why?
Because I guess...
Not only now, but later, he calls them guys from the village.
I think it was just... It doesn't make sense for there to be random warriors to an English audience because we don't know about the warring states. And the fact that random samurai and bandits would just...
Be in the woods.
Yeah. Hiding. Except that literally just happened 2 episodes ago.
Right.
With the bandits that kidnapped Kagome, but we forget. So obviously they're men from the village that were camping for some reason.
And not in the village.
Mm-hmm. I do that. I camp in my adjacent park all the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, especially in a world that's infested by demons that are constantly trying to kill you.
Yeah, it's fine.
It's fine. She grabs a bow.
Mm-hmm.
Well, first of all, she's laying, like, kneeling down, and he's like...
Oh, you scared?
Giving her shit, and I'm just like, leave her alone.
You want to go back home?
In the sub, he's like, what, are you depressed? And I'm like, fuck off. But no, she's getting a bow and quiver and just says, let's fucking roll, and I love her for that. Mm-hmm. Even though she still doesn't know how to shoot a bow and arrow.
Yeah.
But somehow she thinks that she can, she says in the next scene. It's an interesting moment because, like, she says that and she clutches his little shoulder and he, like, looks at it and he's like, well, maybe she can do it. And I'm like, boy.
He's starting to be a little impressed by her.
Right,
He's
exactly.
beginning to develop maybe some respect.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what it seems like.
Mm-hmm. I did want to point out that when Kagome picks up the bow and arrow, in the manga and in the sub, she thinks about how, I think in the manga it specifically says, did this happen when I went home? If I had stayed, would this not have happened? So she is kind of taking responsibility for the fact.
Hi, Avery here, letting you know that we once again had a little technical failure. We got my new laptop the following week. We shouldn't have this problem again, knock on wood. Stuff happens, but hopefully we're all clear going forward. The part that got cut out was mostly just the transition from getting the bow and arrow in the woods to getting into Yura's hair layer, which is basically just a gigantic hairball floating in midair that all of the hair is stemming from. So we basically just talked about how InuYasha and Kagome are getting chased by hair. They come up over a rise and down into the canyon that has the hair ball. Literally, Kagome calls it a hairball. And then from there, InuYasha gets his ass caught, and we pick up from there.
And he gets tied up.
Yeah, I wrote, bound and spread wide in midair.
Wow. You went there, and I appreciate that.
I think it's called like a St. James or a St. John. What is it?
James sounds right, but I don't know.
Either
I'm not
way,
Catholic.
he's spread
Sure is.
midair, which gotta be funny for him because he can't see the hair, so he's just like floating like a doll.
That must suck.
It does.
It looks better with the hair, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I said, you're looking cute against the moon.
Speaking of the moon,
Yes.
I'm no chill, guys. I'm so sorry. 2 days ago, it was full. 2 days ago, it was full. And in the manga, it's not as waned as it is in the anime. And also, that is an extreme crescent. You just scoop out the middle right there, boys.
It's like an ice cream scoop.
Yeah.
But it does look nice.
It does look really cool, but 2 days. Well, 2 days. How's the lunar cycle working now?
It's inaccurate. InuYasha.
It has to be a little more accurate than that.
Yura starts calling him doggy, and again I'm like...
Oh yeah, they introduce themselves, and in the dubbed, she does an excellent job of calling him doggy and puppy and all sorts of cutesy names that he just hates.
Yes. It's really great.
They say, I heard through the grapevine that you're playing fetch with a shrine maiden or something. And he's like, me with her? The English implication sounds so dirty.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
In the Japanese, it says he's serving her or like...
Yeah.
Doing...
being her at her bidding or something like that.
Yeah. And in the manga, they refer to it as a pet. And he gets very upset about that.
It's pretty funny. Also, I love the idea of gossiping demons.
Yeah, and that's the other thing is she calls them Onis, and that's where I got confused because Kagome is in the next panel and she goes, Onis? You mean ogres? And that's why I thought she was referring to herself as an ogre when in fact she was referring to herself as an Oni.
Oh.
Which is the same thing in some translations, but she's not an ogre.
No, she's not.
No.
She's really pretty.
Yeah.
And ogres aren't. Also,
But
she's a cone.
Onis can also be demons. What?
But we'll talk more about that later. Yeah, so she's like continually wrapping him up in hair and then comes behind him and starts criticizing his hair routine.
First, it's so pretty, but you got split ends, darling.
Mm-hmm, this bitch.
And he turns to like backhand her or just like push her away. And she delicately falls. And then she does a flip and another flip. And she lands on her tightrope hair. Falls down a little bit more. And then zoop with a sword out. She tries to gut him. She doesn't quite, but she tries.
It looks like she could have gotten the dig. But she just gets him across the chest.
Yes.
Which is very sportsmanlike of her.
Yes. In the manga, the sword has a name. It's called Crimson Mist.
I just saw that, yeah.
And she refers to it as her Oni's joy. It severs flesh and bone without harming hair.
Which is not mentioned in any way, shape, or form in the anime. But,
No.
again, I like the little details in the manga that are like...
But that would explain why she's not afraid of slicing
Exactly.
this way to get his head. Because she's not going to hurt the hair no matter what she does.
Right. You know there's a lot of people that read manga and then go, well, what about this?
Mm-hmm.
And they were like, no.
Mm-hmm.
We're not going to deal with that.
Yeah.
Doesn't cut hair. Fuck off. She comes up. She licks his blood off of the sword and says, I'm going to cut you into little pieces now. Yes, mommy. Yes. And then we go to commercial.
And she does it again.
And she does it again, which I enjoyed it both times, so I didn't care.
I didn't. I think I must have when I was a kid, like, ooh, that's interesting somehow, you know? But now it's just like, so much bacteria.
We are survivors of the COVID pandemic. But she's hot, so I don't care.
Okay.
Knife play, blood play.
Also,
let's go.
she licks lower. There's no blood there. It's all for show. She jumps to strike and nearly gets hit by an arrow from Kagome.
Yeah, Kagome actually almost hit her. I was so proud of her. She looks like Little Red Riding Hood.
She does.
She's so cute.
Her wearing the Fur of the Fire Rat robe is probably my favorite thing. And they don't do it very often, but when they do...
It looks so good. She's
so cute. So good.
It's oversized. It has big wearing my boyfriend's hoodie vibes. What?
I'm sorry. A squee almost came. Just filled me with so much happiness.
I love you.
Thanks.
Wait, did you just say thanks to me saying I love you? Fuck you. Ow.
I love you too. I didn't mean it like that.
Ow.
I read it as, yes, poor you. We have to continue. Sorrows.
No, I was saying I love you.
Okay.
I'm so glad we're doing this podcast with you. Or that I'm doing this podcast with you. And then you said thank you.
I'm sorry. I got nervous because I mentioned something real. Anyway.
Yura basically is like, yeah, I guess I'll take your hair too if you're going to be a bitch about it. And
Even though it's not as pretty.
even though it sucks. And Kagome's like, I have shampoo and conditioner depending on whether I'm watching the sub or the dub.
Yeah.
And she gets mad and shoots another arrow and it almost hits InuYasha and it's pretty funny.
Yeah.
But then it goes squish into the hair nest and it somehow just like evaporates the whole hair nest.
So
She hit the sweet spot.
what I am interpreting this as is Kagome's spiritual power isn't strong enough to manifest outside of the arrow yet, which Kikyo's we'll see at some point When she fires her arrows, the whole arrow is almost engulfed in a pink light, and then it spreads out. Kagome's arrows appear normal, but when they strike, they purify.
Oh.
So that's
what's happening.
Yeah, that's still her power, but it's not strong enough to manifest outside of the arrow for people to see it.
Fascinating. Okay.
Because Kaede kind of says that. She says she is Kikyo's reincarnation and she doesn't know the power she has and she's unable to wield it, which is why she needs InuYasha.
Yes.
So
that tracks, because I was just like, oh, what a lucky shot for her, but it's actually like basically undoing the demonic power.
Yes.
Okay.
Any time Kagome's arrow is in her hand and she uses it in any form, she can purify with it.
Got it. Cool.
I mean, her touch itself purifies, but Kagome's not aware of her own abilities yet.
Sure. I mean, that's fair. She's been going through a lot.
Yeah.
So yeah, a bunch of skulls pour out of the hair nest. Again, we have that line that's like, it's the men from the village that we saw in the forest. And it's like, come on.
That line is in the manga, and the only reason it makes sense for him to recognize the warriors is because they still have skin on. He recognizes the warriors. And so instead of saying, in this sub, he says, those were the rogue warriors we saw in the woods.
Yeah.
In the manga, he says, those are the rogue samurai we saw in the woods, but they have skin on.
Gotcha.
They're fresh kills.
That sounds gory, and I love it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to reread
The manga is hella bloody.
Yeah, I remember enjoying it.
Yeah. Yura turns to InuYasha and informs him that he will soon be joining the men in the nest, but first she has to take care of Kagome. And in the Japanese version, she says, "You scare me, so die."
Yeah.
And she uses her comb and produces demon fire to burn Kagome to death and says,
There. Hot enough for you. You'll feel the heat right down to your bones. Help me! Aw. That's for emptying out my lair. Pity there be nothing left but ash.
Which it was kind of funny in this sub. It was like, and she'll be left with no bones. So I was like,
yeah.
That's not exactly right. Because I was just imagining a jellyfish going over. But yeah, I like the hot enough for ya.
Yes.
And then she follows that up with another one-liner of,
Poor thing. I'd almost forgot. Pets ought never be allowed to outlive their masters.
which is a funny line.
And she only says that because in the dubbed, InuYasha goes, "Come on."
Come on!
He doesn't say anything like that in the other versions.
Kind of weird, but funny.
Yeah. Maybe hinting at him, like, I just started to kind of like her.
Exactly. Like, dude, that's a little overkill, don't you think?
I just started respecting her. I gotta start all over.
I wrote that he wounds himself and casts a spell, meaning he's officially a blood hunter.
No. He dips his claws in the chest wound that Yura has already created.
Yes.
And
Which has to hurt.
it does.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He wounds himself.
And he pulls them out, covered in blood,
And casts
he
a spell with his blood.
he does
so
his
he's a blood hunter.
second attack.
And his specialty is demons.
Blades of blood.
Blades of blood. Which very, like, dramatic.
It is.
I assume it's one of his moves.
It is. That's the second attack. He has
Iron Reaper,
Soul Stealer.
Iron Reaper, Soul Steamer.
It's Soul Stealer always, but the first part is the part I was confused with.
Did you ever figure that out?
No, leave me alone.
We'll see if anyone emails or something.
I know, I can't wait, guys.
We'll see if anyone actually listens to this podcast.
Someone help us. We're doing as much research as we can, but I'm so confused.
The spell cuts off her whole hand.
Yeah, he must have not rolled very high, because, like, out of the 4 claws, only 1 hits.
Yes, exactly.
It's
miss.
Yeah.
Barely hit.
Pretty clean cut, right on the edge of her cuff, and not a lot of blood. Except in the manga, it's cut more at an angle, and lots of blood. That's
Nice.
a bloody stump.
I remember that.
Yeah.
Because I remember she was, like, covered in blood by the end of it.
Yeah. And she says a joke about how he needs to treat her like a lady and makes the skulls laugh at
She has
him.
a built-in audience.
Yeah.
What a queen.
But because her hand has fallen, InuYasha is partially freed a little bit. The hairs loosen around him. And Yura uses the comb to send the skulls to attack him, and he begins to punch them, not realizing that Yura is actually puppeting her own hand with the sword to attack him again.
Who says heads up?
I feel
Somebody
like
says heads up.
I feel like it had to be him.
It looks pretty cool when the skulls like go after her and stuff, but yeah, she gets its ass.
Yeah, she misses the first time, and then she stabs him through the back the second time after he tries to attack her again, and forces him to the ground, pinning him, and then roughly removing the sword, which gotta hurt. And then she magically reattaches it to her hand, like to her wrist, using hair magic?
Hair magic. Hair magic. And then, you know what else has gotta hurt? She says half demon, half power. Rubbing salt in the wound.
And we hear once
She a meanie.
we hear once again that it's very obvious to other demons, at least, that InuYasha must have wanted the jewel to become full demon. So that is repeated by an outside source that doesn't know him. So it's almost an obvious plot, I guess.
We also have learned that demons are gossipy bitches.
That's
so
true.
Maybe it's just everyone talks about everyone.
Yes. And then she goes to cut his head off, this time using her left hand, even though her right hand was the original one she was using the sword with, but that was the one she cut off. You want to know why?
Yes.
In the manga, her hand doesn't come back on.
Oh,
So
yeah.
she has to
She just has
switch
to
hands to
stumpy.
cut. Yeah. So she goes to cut, and he lunges forward and punches his hand through her chest, through her spine.
It's a great shot.
That went through her sternum.
Whole business.
And he rips it out, and the jewel comes falling down, and he falls back to the ground thinking, haha, I've won. And she stomps on his hand.
Like a good dummy mummy.
In the manga, his hand goes through bloody, comes out as a fist because he's holding the jewel, puts his hand down to steady himself. She stabs him in the hand with the sword, and then uses a hair strand to pull the bag with the jewel out. So much blood everywhere. And she chastises him for touching her chest.
She says, that's fucking uncool.
Yeah.
Like, not cool, dude. You haven't even bought me dinner. And now she's become cross.
Now I have become cross.
It looks like she's about to do him in, but then she feels a little boop boop on her hairs.
Tug, tug.
Yep. And guess who?
Kagome!
Yeah. She's climbing the column of hair. She's trying it out. She's trying to do the hero shit. And for the first time, we see Yura start to sweat. She's getting very nervous.
And InuYasha grabs her sword that is on the ground.
Slash in his hand.
Yeah, in the manga, he pulls it out and repositions.
Hardcore.
And he slices her in half in the anime. In the manga, it's just a slice. It doesn't actually cut all the
I
way
really
through
like
her.
the diagonal full slice, and then before she can shift the hair, repairing her. It's a cool little touch.
But it's also annoying
Why?
in the fact that they don't fix the hole in her.
Yeah.
If you're going to go through the trouble of stitching her all the way back together, why didn't you stitch the hole? And it's because in the manga, it's just a scratch down her back. They didn't have to. She has everything still on her by the end. InuYasha points out that before, when he cut off her hand, it was like she broke a nail. But now that Kagome's climbing her hair, she's really nervous. And Kagome yells that there's a red skull that seems to have something in it or attached to it. And Yura completely freaks out and goes for her.
Yeah, I was just like, bitch, shut up. Shut up, shut up, shut up, shut up, shut up, shut up, shut up. I get it, like, I understand why she did it, but I was just like, But
InuYasha breaks free.
Yes.
Not very easily, but quickly, because the hair doesn't hurt him.
Yes.
But is held back by unseen hair as Yura strikes and collects Kagome, traps Kagome. In the manga and the Japanese version, they refer to it as a hair cage.
Yes.
A little bit. And instead in English, he says, "You're tangling my hair."
Getting it all tangled. wow. She tries to do Kagome in, and the kimono of the fire rat protects her.
Mm-hmm.
It's not an explanation or anything, but it sure said like it.
I have a little research on it that might shed some light on it and why Japanese people might be a little more knowledgeable about it than us.
Mm-hmm.
InuYasha's red fire rat robe can ultimately be tracked to early misconceptions about asbestos, a mineral with white silky fibers, and salamanders, an amphibious creature with a lizard-like body plan. As early as the 4th to 3rd century BCE, some ancient Greek writers believed that naturally moist nature of the salamander allowed it to resist or even douse flames. Such writings arrived in China nearly 1,000 years later, and in Arab countries centuries later. The Chinese associated stories of salamanders with asbestos fibers to derive legends of furry, fire-retardant creatures most often described as a rat. Chinese sources from the 4th century CE onward claimed that large rodents lived on a fiery island or volcano to the east of the Middle Kingdom, and that its long hairs, a few inches to several feet, could be woven into a fireproof cloth. One even mentions the creature's hide resisting the blows of weapons, alluding to the possible use as armor. A 7th century Buddhist encyclopedia mentioned an asbestos cassock, suggesting that the material was used to make actual robe. Stories of the robe and the fire rat most likely spread to Japan during a long period of religious and secular cultural exchanges taking place from the 7th to the 10th century. The concept of the fire rat robe was immortalized in the tales in the 9th and early 10th centuries in the Japanese legend, The Tale of the Bamboo Cutter. The story sees a celestial princess turned beautiful woman maiden as she sends an unwanted suitor on an impossible mission to retrieve such a garment from China. The robe in the story is blue, but most likely influenced the creation of InuYasha's red robe from the manga and the anime. The color change was no doubt a stylistic choice by the creators Rumiko Takahashi.
Cool.
Yeah, so the whole first part of the article goes into the Greco-Roman stuff and how Plato was pretty sure that if you took the skin from a salamander, you could walk through fire.
Yeah, I'm definitely aware of salamander iconography and mythology.
So it seems like it either was a translation problem or they were just like, oh, but asbestos looks like fur and rats have fur. So
that's interesting. It makes me think that it might have been like almost like a fairy tale and then brought into like, oh, what if these things actually existed?
Yeah.
That's really cool. I like that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Makes me less annoyed by a long shot.
So the Bamboo Cutter is a very famous tale and even has become a Miyazaki film. Not a Miyazaki, but a Studio Ghibli film.
Oh, really?
Which I watched in preparation for this.
Is it good?
Yes, I cried several times.
Really?
Yes.
Is it called The Bamboo Cutter?
It's called Princess Kaguya, which is her name. But her name translates into something about bamboo. Oh. It's a play on words because she literally was a thumb-sized girl found in glowing bamboo. He cut it, found this girl, went to take her home, and as he did so, she transformed into a baby and then grew normally, but quickly, and grew into a very beautiful woman that anybody who heard about her or saw her fell in love. And so 5 lords of the land approach her to marry her, and she doesn't want to get married. She's like, I just want to live my life. I want to enjoy being human. Can you fuck off? And in the movie, they compare her to mythical objects as saying she's a treasure, and if they were ever able to obtain her as a wife, they would treat her like this treasure. And she very smartly goes, if I'm as good as these treasures you speak of, I would like to see them so I know what you're comparing me to know your depth of love. So go get them.
Fuck it up.
Knowing that most of them are mythical things or things that people haven't actually ever seen.
Right.
And in the tale, the man who gets assigned the fur of the fire rat sends somebody else to go collect it, and he pays them a great fortune to have it brought back. And he's so confident that it is the fur of the fire rat that she goes, okay, if it's supposed to be this fur, throw it in the fire to prove that it's not gonna burn. And he does it because he believes it's real, and it catches fire, and he spent his entire fortune on it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I will be checking that movie out. That sounds cool.
Anyway, Yura claims that Kagome is just human and goes to try to strangle her with her hair. Again, the hair strands somehow get around Kagome's neck without messing up her hair.
Yes.
So I just give up on the logic. It's fine.
It's fine.
It's fine.
Look at us if we're fine.
We're fine. That's what I wanted. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine.
It's fine. InuYasha comes at her and saves our girl.
He makes a critical hit.
He does, finally. He finally
Nat
rolls
20.
okay. Finally. The line goes slack, and Kagome's about to fall, and she starts to faint, and he wrecks her shit. He's like, don't you faint on me, you stupid girl. And in the sub, he's like, I can't be looking after you all the time. It's like, dude, that's like a 100-foot drop.
In the manga, he literally says, it's like, you pass out and I'm not helping you.
Jesus. This is so brutal.
In the manga as well, he cuts off her other arm. He doesn't fully eviscerate her. He just slices the arm.
Gotcha.
Which has the same effect because now
she's now to 0 hands.
She's now to 0 hands, down a full arm almost. Has nothing to hold the hair, so that's why it falls. Has a hole through her chest and a slash down her back.
And yet she persevered.
Yeah. Somehow she was still controlling her sword, even without anything.
Because he gets straight up stabbed in the chest again.
Yes. But he pushed Kagome out of the way.
He did. It was very sweet.
That only happens in the anime. It's fine. In the manga, she literally aims for him and misses Kagome. So,
well,
yeah.
I appreciate the intent.
Yeah.
I appreciate the show shipping them.
Mm-hmm.
And half a second later, Kagome is just stabbing the Red Skull with an arrow repeatedly, and it actually works. It's really great.
And we see her power as it breaks the comb and dispels the demon energy.
Now I understand why it glowed like that.
Yeah.
That tracks.
Mm-hmm.
Because it looked really gorgeous. I mean, it looks good. But it just I didn't know why it was doing that.
You could argue whether or not that was the demon energy coming out or Kagome's spiritual power forcing it to break. But either way,
yeah,
it's cool.
And the comb inside the skull breaks, and our girl disappears into fairy dust.
Mm-hmm.
Sword falls down.
Clothes fall down.
Clothes fall down. I was surprised that Kagome didn't go snag. Because she would look good in that.
Mm.
She's a little...
young.
Yeah.
Mm.
It's fine. And here's a nice time for my little research.
Yay!
I'm really excited about this week. So I didn't know what I would be looking at because I thought I went in looking for like hair demons in Japanese culture because that's my reference point for this whole storyline. Is I really like watching Japanese horror and Japanese folklore inspired stuff, and so like my reference point is this tradition of this trope of this vengeful woman who is attacking with sentient hair or semi-sentient hair. But I was kind of hitting dead ends that didn't really line up with anything that was gear related. Mm-hmm. But what I found out is that the comb inside of the skull is most likely a reference to Tsukumogami, which means tool spirit. Toolgami, tool spirit, which is a Japanese folklore entity that was really popular in the Japanese medieval times, the feudal era. And it was basically this concept that if an object or tool is kept around by a single owner for 100 years, then it gains life. And it evolves into a yokai and turns into basically a demon and starts causing trouble.
Oh.
So there was this idea of an object would become occupied by a spirit after 100 years, so people would throw out old objects before they became 100 years old, which was called susuharai. There's like this tradition of throwing them out before they got too old, so that they wouldn't like gain a personality, basically. It was a really, really popular folklore in the medieval times, and then it declined more recently. So it was like they probably found this in researching medieval folklore in Japan, and we're like, oh, that's a fun way to spin that. But yeah, like this comb would have been a tsukumogami that had been used as a tool to comb the hair of the dead. When the comb gained sentience after being around and being used for that purpose for 100 years, then of course she's going to be a hair fetishist.
Yes.
Who uses hair in
As a
very
weapon.
dangerous and chaotic way.
The subversion I was listening to earlier InuYasha refers to it as an embalmer's comb used to comb the hair of the deceased. And I wondered, did embalmers exist in feudal era Japan, or is that like a mistranslation using modern day text?
It's a really interesting question. I do not know.
Okay.
That'd be a fun research project for me.
And in the manga, he just claims that Yura hid her soul in the comb.
Yeah. Right.
Like she was a normal demon, but she hid it there to make herself immortal.
I think it makes more sense with the background that I found.
Yes,
Like,
no.
She, like, gained so much power that she, like, made herself a little body. Like, this comb made herself a little body.
That explains her body dissolving more than anything.
Right?
Yeah.
Exactly. Like, that. I think that's really cool. But yeah, they say she wasn't a hair demon, she was a comb, and that she didn't use the comb so much as they used her.
Yeah. And as he's explaining, InuYasha winces in pain and kind of falls. And
it's fine.
And Kagome realizes that he's hurt because she was wearing his robe. And he's like, it's nothing. What about the jewel? Because that's the only thing this boy cares about. Single-minded. And they get the jewel, and everything's fine. And InuYasha says, let's go, Kagome. Saying her name, finally, for the first time.
And she's like, what? What did you say? He's like, what?
You must like me a little bit more.
And he goes, fuck you. And she gets his ass. It's so funny. He, like, pats him on the shoulder, like, swats him, and he just, like, crumples.
Leave me alone!
I love it so much.
Yeah, the stuff he says, shut up, and leave me alone is so much funnier.
He says shut up in the manga, too, but she says something about, it makes me think that we're becoming friendlier, and he goes, oh yeah, I've always wanted a friend that's stupid and weak. And that's when she's like, if I'm so weak, then how did I do that? And that's when she hits him and he falls.
Good.
Yeah
I enjoy that. And then, at least in the anime, we cut to this poor woman continuing to babble to herself in the woods.
And prays that InuYasha will come back to save her.
Don't you dare forget where you buried me.
The poor sneeze.
And that's the episode.
That's the episode.
Yeah, I like it. I think it's a really fun one. It creates this expectation of where this show is gonna head, which is cool.
2 things real fast.
Please.
I'm a nerd.
Please.
I counted how many times Kagome says his name in this episode.
Oh, how many?
10.
10 times?
In both the English and the Japanese, it's 10 times.
Wow.
Yeah. To his 1.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So the ratio is a little off at the moment.
A little.
But
But
we'll keep going.
yeah.
Are you going to keep the tally?
I'm trying.
You're trying. Fair.
And this is Kagome's first kill.
Aww,
I
girl.
thought for a second that I was like, no, she killed the crow, but InuYasha did give the final swipe at the head.
Yes,
so
true.
This is Kagome's actual first kill.
I'm so proud of her.
Mm-hmm.
First blood.
Yeah.
First fairy dust.
Do you remember what you said at the end of episode 2 about the next part of the arc?
I don't remember anything that I say ever.
Okay.
What?
You said that you thought it was gonna coasting and get kind of dull for a little bit.
Oh yeah, no, that wasn't right. Wrong prediction. I liked this arc quite a bit.
So what do you think about the next one, maybe? What do you think?
I think we're gonna leave the area. I think that's my prediction.
Okay.
Is that we're gonna go off on the road.
I think we're finally gonna start the journey
I
to
think
find
so.
the shards.
Yeah, I think that some footsteps will be taken purposefully away from the village. That, or we'll go back to the present day and sort out how she's gonna deal with her family.
Mm-hmm.
One of those two.
Okay.
Hey, Alyssa.
Yeah.
Are you thirsty?
A little.
I'm so thirsty.
I know you
This
are.
week I'm so thirsty.
You're so very thirsty.
It's pretty obvious who I'm taking.
Who?
I'm taking Yura. So she can throw... No, I'm sorry. She's going to cut me. Then she's going to throw lemonade at me. And then she'll throw salt at me. And then she'll call me a little wimpy girl. And I'll say, thank you, ma'am.
She made you a margarita.
She
It's
made
fine.
me a margarita. And I'll go... Who are you taking to the lemonade stand?
You know, I went back and forth. Originally, I was like, I don't know why. I have no reason to, but I was like, Kagome's mom. That's going to be my safe bet. I'm going to take Kagome's mom.
That's fair.
Because
she's got a great haircut.
She's finally here.
Yes.
I'm so excited to meet her. And I enjoy Kagome's mom as a person. And then while we were watching this last time, I was like, you know what? Kaede's kind of struggling. She really needs somebody to pick her up and help her.
A pity date.
And then I saw InuYasha's little face as he struggled to figure out what Yura's weakness is, and he's just so cute when he's trying to think. I might have to go back with my boy.
That's okay. There's no limits, no rules.
No limits.
Just right.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm picking InuYasha again.
All right. So we're gonna have to start keeping. Well, I know you're keeping track of us.
Yeah.
Our lemonade stand. Maybe we'll do like a brackets at the end.
A bracket? Okay.
Except that most of, like, half of the lemonade stand is gonna be just InuYasha.
And some Kagome's.
So yeah,
Just wait till we get other characters.
I'm excited.
Oh, this next episode.
Yeah.
It's gonna be interesting.
Okay, I'm excited.
Yeah. Talk about mommies.
Oh. Like.
We'll
mommy?
see.
Okay. Like mommy.
Sorry. Mommy? Sorry.
Guys, thank you for joining us.
Mm-hmm.
In 2 weeks, we will be picking back up with episode 5. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah, right? Jesus. Yeah, we'll be picking up next week, or next time, with episode 5.
Yes. Sorry, I was trying to figure out when this is coming out in relation, and this should come out after Christmas and New Year's. Yes.
Hope you had...
In 2 weeks.
I hope you will have
had
good holidays.
season's greetings.
Joy to all.
You can find us anywhere that you can listen to podcasts. We have a video of our podcast up on YouTube for somehow.
We got a YouTube video.
I am having the thing we're using to upload the podcast. I don't remember what it's called. The RSS. Make a transcription. So you can also read if I have to go through and edit it. I haven't done that yet, but
it's shaky, but we'll make it good.
So if you can't hear us, you can read us. I don't know. I shouldn't be this person.
You can send us emails at sitboycast@gmail.com. You can send us questions, requests, feedback, all sorts of fun stuff there.
And you can find us on Instagram and Tumblr at SitBoyCast.
Yes,
because we still use Tumblr, baby.
Yeah! Let's go!
And we're trying to stay away from Twitter, so.
X.
Whatever.
And we're too tired. We're too old and tired to do anything else. There's a lot of other things we could be doing. We're not doing them.
We'll do them eventually. Maybe. My sisters do this for a living, so my mom was like, why aren't you? I was like, because I'm not trying to bother them, but eventually
we'll see.
I might.
If anyone listens to this podcast, then we'll talk about it.
Okay. I'm Alyssa.
And I'm Avery. Until next time.
See you soon. According to Nick, I get meaner at night.
Good. It'll be funnier.
He called it sundowning.
I like
Instead
it.
of sundowning, I get more sundary. Like
That's
it's
a good
later.
one. I like that. I'm stealing that.
Okay, good.